from the beginning in Bitcoins, so you can't even imagine how rich I am. We can set up some servers. So we call it Oracle databases, or even if you're familiar with Microsoft, we can open some access databases. So you have an employee in your company who is very firm. He will open some access databases, and his colleagues will fill the access databases by Excel with all the data sheets and everything in there. So what we can do now is we can create a so-called PIBO. That's a part where you can collect the data you want to have in a ledger. So you see a ledger with a timestamp and the data filtered. So this data we copy to AWS servers at Amazon, and now if this ledger is going down, we have a copy and we can restore it. So that's what we call resilience. But as you can see, you only provide the data to a ledger, you want to see the masses. But you didn't look behind the curtain. So DLT technology today is more dark than Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin is created in a ledger, you can see in the internet, you can see who has transact something to whom. And the DLT, or private blockchain, or sub-ledger blockchains, and everything we have around, you are hidden behind. And you have to believe the third party, which is using this technology, that is telling the truth. But we don't want to trust in people, because every time it comes to money, and it comes to store of value, we have to be traded by people. So the problem today is that we come from a legal perspective, how will a lawyer decide whether what he sees is right, or it's an imagination of what we think is right. So the discussion is, if you use a ledger entrance to prove that someone is doing wrong or right, and I come and I can track down your ledger, whereas the proof in truth, it has gone away. And as you see today, we have hacked with my team every blockchain technology out there. We hacked Ripple 3 times, we hacked Ethereum many times, DAO, many people have heard about it. We hacked all the exchanges because they're based on technology which is not telling the truth. It's a central-based system. That's why we control, and that's why Bitcoin is decentralized. Decentralized means no one, without a consensus, can change the rules. So for example, you want to build a blue car and not a red car, in a company, there are a lot of decisions to make it, because they want all make clear that the red car is the best-selling thing. So Bitcoin is working the same thing. If you want to do the best for the people, you have to do a consensus. So if you want to change the Bitcoin protocol in any way, they have to make a decision with all of the owners in the system. And that's what we call consensus-based system. This is a basic democratic system like the Swiss have today. So, but it's also necessary, if we talk about the freedom of money and the freedom of store of value, that we have to make regulations framework around. That's why I'm here today. As you can see, we have talked to Japan all the time, about 3 years, and finally Bitcoin is alive as a currency in Japan. And believe me, they had the same concerns like governments have today all over the world. But as you see, the money laundering and the terrorism doesn't go upwards in Japan, even if they use Bitcoin. So we have a use case, a real case out there. We can study what happens if a country is using Bitcoin. Because the misunderstanding is, because many Bitcoin enthusiasts and cryptocurrency enthusiasts will tell you the new technology like blockchain is as disruptive as it should be. But that's not the truth. A Bitcoin, a digital currency, is only a part of a society which is going a future step. It's only a way to transact money in a global way without barriers. So for example, I'm a sponsor here on the conference. It was for me and my colleagues a very hard way to send money to India in cash. We had very hard problems in Germany to do this. We have to run for more than 3 banks until we found one bank can access it. And if you send $2,000 to India from Germany, you pay $300 in fees. So I ask you, where's the necessary to go for the old systems? But what we see also is that companies are starting to build the old economy in digital form. So the main mistake understanding in blockchain technology is that people think they can bring enterprise systems from companies into blockchain technology. Blockchain technology is working in a totally different way, so we have find new solutions to use this, but enterprise systems won't work on that. Because the reason why we can hack blockchain today is the enterprise system behind. So for example, as long as you store user data on a server, you are hackable. Maybe you have read Facebook today seems in the case that they lost 50 million of user data by a hack. And the hack was an attack on the enterprise system, and they used blockchain technology with security token. So how can a blockchain technology with security token cracked? It is the way how security tokens work today. Many people think that smart contracts are the answer for the solutions of our problems. Smart contracts are nothing more than an Excel sheet. So think about if you work with Excel, you have all the items you create. If A is equal to B, then go somewhere. If, when, why, what. That's how Excel is working exactly. That's what the smart contract is doing. If, when, why, what. We have an input and we have an output. It's the same if you go for law and justice. We have an input case and we have an output case, how we will treat this guy doing wrong. So this is exactly describing how people and the whole community worldwide is working. The smart contract is now a copy of that, who will make the rules in the computer system in a way that it works automatically. This only works in companies and accountants. So with smart contracts, I can use for sending money from A to B, or I can define if you paid my car, you get a document by sending by a smart contract automatically. But also we use the old technology behind. And if we use the old technology behind what I said on server systems and everything, we have the central point to crack down. So if people don't understand that the future of blockchain technology is not the blockchain transporting something, it's the ledger who is protecting the copyright. So a ledger has a timestamp. I can tell you exactly on a timestamp when I created something, when I sent something, and when I transact the right to use it. So this is the necessary of blockchain technology. So you have seen many use cases like Hyperledger, like everything out there to make smart contracts happen. But the misunderstanding of smart contracts leads people in a different way. And now we come to the point that today the companies ask of their own failures the regulators to regulate a space which they don't understand. And that's the main point about. If regulation is affected by companies and by central banks, and they should decide what's right or wrong, they don't decide for humanity. Because they don't understand. If I'm in the third world and I have 150 charity projects all over the world in Bitcoin, we can't change anything. We have today a hyperinflation about 30,000% in Argentina. The same situation we find in Venezuela, more harder than ever. You have seen what happens to your money when the government was coming and was saying overnight, keep it out. So, what does it mean? If people don't understand how money is and functionality, how can we should regulate a use case of a blockchain if the old systems fail and we should regulate something totally new? It is only a way of knowledge. And that's what we offer with our Satoshi School. Knowledge for governments, for central banks, and for companies to go in the right way. It is not a question about which system is the right one. It's a question who is controlling the system and the code behind the system, and who is controlling it in which case. So I can use blockchain technology in a good way and in a criminal way. So this is also in the free world. So this is what you see. If people pointing a finger from government side all over the world on Bitcoin and saying you're doing wrong with Bitcoin, and on the other hand they allow Ethereum, I can send Ethereum the same way, I can do money laundering with Ethereum the same way. Where is the difference? Where is the necessary? So the necessary to make a change, it's a big thing in regulated framework that we accept that this technology is a part of our society which we can't deny anymore. So if you from a regulated point understand that you can't break down this technology, people try to break down Bitcoin 10 years and more. So in 1994 we started doing researches on digital money. So we have an advantage about more than 20 years in technologies. So even if you shut down all the exchanges and you make laws that you ban your people from Bitcoin, we can do it. Because we have also physical Bitcoins today. We have also the digital Bitcoins. So in this moment, a lot of people in India, and that's what was the point for Japan accepting Bitcoins. That's the only point. In Japan, when it comes out, it's the same in India. We have more than 3 million people at the moment exchanging Bitcoins without your knowledge. There is a subculture in the dark, what you call the dark, where people exchanges good for Bitcoins without your knowledge, because we have misunderstood to regulate the concept of merchants. In many countries, merchants have so much high taxes that people can't afford to buy anything in the shop. And the merchant has to survive. So he closes shop, sells goods for Bitcoins in the dark. It's a question of survival. We have 2 billion unbanked people, and no one has done a change. With only a piece of a Bitcoin, say $10 in Bitcoin, and the value which is rising from 2016, $458 to now $6,500, this guy is very rich. Bitcoin has a big problem, and cryptocurrencies, as you have heard about all the scams. There is a misunderstanding at the people's side also, because if you go for Bitcoins or cryptocurrencies, you change your money like you change rupees into dollar or something like that. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies is nothing to invest. The most mistake people do is believing third companies that they want to work with their Bitcoins in a good way. But these companies all know that the Bitcoin price in 2025 will be more than $300,000. They know it from real, and we have a limited amount of Bitcoins. So they want to keep a lot of Bitcoins to come to this year and get really, really rich. And if you have all this money in the wrong hands, they will decide what politics is in these times. So we locked up about 8 million Bitcoins. You can't move anymore. This is locked up by the founders of Bitcoin and the first user, because we want to make a decision if the wrong people using Bitcoin because they collected the Bitcoins and hold them all the time and not using as a monetary system, we can keep the balance. Flooding the market with a lot of Bitcoins to keep the price down and get more people in than before. In a way, I don't agree. So, who is giving people the right to close my accounts, and who is giving people the right to use my money in a way I don't agree with? Also, we were very concerned about the terms and privacy and storage of value, and also of controlling by computers what we see today. Many people in Europe, maybe you, have read a book. It's called Jorg Molt, 1984. Many people of you know Edward Snowden. Many people of you maybe have seen movies like iRobot or something like that. For many people this is science fiction, but with smart contracts and blockchain technology, it is possible to create something like that. And if the rights on your own personality is controlled by computer systems, and the little crowd of people should judge about a mass adoption and telling what right is wrong, always the question in time was, who is the criminal? If it comes to the fact you have heard about a lot of money laundering today, and people talking about money laundering and bitcoins and cryptocurrencies, we have to understand one thing. Money laundering is something, if you turn white money into black money by changing the laws, how you allowed to use your money. So, for real, there's no black money. And in this case, there can't be any money laundering. To understand this, the creation of Bitcoin was necessary to remind the people that our money system today is worthless because we are depending on belief. So, if you look for a $1 note, there is printed on the $1 note that it is $1 promise. But if you go for a shop today and you pay with your $1, you will see a difference, and that what you get for your $1 and what you get for your dollar 20 years ago. So the more the promise from $1 in rupee is nothing more but an exchange system which doesn't work. The rupee lost value up to 15% in the last 2 weeks. Money today is printed by governments, but governments can print money as much as they want. So who's stopping them from doing that? And if you can't access your own money, you can't stop that, because you have only a promise in the bank. And the bank is accessing your money by rules. By rules they created, and they talk to the governments, and that's what we call the central bank. The necessary for Bitcoin was to stop believing in money, but prove the existence of money by mathematics. So all scientists in this room will agree with me that mathematics rules have a right to be there since centuries. So Bitcoin is a limited monetary system. In the end of 2140, we got exactly 21 million Bitcoins out of the box. And as long as you can't crack down my system, you can't print any more Bitcoins. So what does it mean? When you talk about money, we remember the times of the gold standard. In the 1970s, the gold standard was cut off by governments and by central banks. But what we see now is, if I make a loan on you, for example, I give you 1,000 rupees, the central banker can do something magic. You give back 100 of your loan, and he can give a new credit on the computer system by 900 rupees more, without having them in real. So what you see is our money system is one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in the world. And if we come to money laundering, maybe you should use to read the news today worldwide about the Deutsche Bank, who is in the greatest scandal of money laundering all times, so that the BaFin in Germany was sending directors to the Deutsche Bank to control them from this point on. So a system which is controlling billions of dollars compared to a system with 21 million bitcoins, and we are running crazy about the Bitcoin system by money laundering, it's funny to see for me. Because this happens when people haven't got any knowledge about Bitcoin. Bitcoin was not created for money laundering. Bitcoin is a system. If the badass is giving all his money into the Bitcoin system, what happens? He is in a controlled system. He can't break out anymore because the value of Bitcoin is rising. But if I give you $10 in Bitcoin and the value of Bitcoin is rising because the badass is going with $100 million in the Bitcoin system, your $10 are more than $1,000 worth. So you raise value for each participation. What does it mean, raising value? If it is for terrorism, and Bitcoin is that thing, you would see every day a bomb going here. You would see killing people by Bitcoin every day. But we don't see it. Since 10 years, we don't see what they tell us. So, the necessary for Bitcoin being here is telling the truth. The truth about people using their money. From a point of a legal perspective, we have to control where the money is going because we want to charge people and point a finger off them if they do something wrong. In the history, it doesn't matter if the system was Bitcoin, Visa, PayPal, or whatever you call your system. People have also done money laundering in the past. The problem is that many people now don't understand that the blockchain can't prevent people from doing money laundering because it's a system to transact money. And it doesn't matter if you have Ethereum or Ripple or something like that. If a suspicious is going to do money laundering, he will do. No matter which is the transportation system of your money. So blockchain technology is nothing else today than you use SEPA. And we see SEPA is the most effective way to do money laundering today. So also, I'm very proud about new technologies. And I'm very proud about having a car with GPS, and I have all the use cases seen in ICOs. Yes? But on the other hand, it is controlled by third parties which are controlling my data. Today you call it big data connection. But what is necessary for you to come to my privacy, my smart home, doing IOTA, Internet of Things, controlled by Internet, and accessing my data when I wake up in the morning at 6 o'clock? You know how hot is my bath, you know which is my favorite newspaper, and you know when my car is leading me to my work. Where is it necessary for me to give you my privacy? Where is it necessary to do this? Because of company behavior. As you can see, I'm not talking in money. I'm talking about things which Bitcoin was built for, not only to use money. If I use a blockchain technology from Bitcoin, you can't control my data because the system is a non-distributed ledger system. Many people don't understand what the difference is between Bitcoin ledger and distributed ledger technology. So let me give you a few shots. Distributed ledger technology, as we see in Ethereum and Ripple, is a nice thing to keep the old world in a digital form. The value is more necessary today because what happens here? You see it all times. If you're in a good situated region, you see Starbucks, you see McDonald's, you see all the companies coming in. Yeah? But how long can you squeeze these people until they run out of money by themselves? So we have to prevent that our now existing monetary system is leading us into a crisis. So in a crisis, what will you do? If you own gold, for example, how can you share your gold? It is impossible. As you have seen in the crisis with the Greeks, we have seen they use Bitcoin to keep up their business, and you see Greeks is coming slowly out of their debts. So this is an unfortunate we have today. But the most problem today is we don't need central banks anymore. Because if money is controlled by a computer system where no guy can crack in, where's the need to have a central bank? These are the losers. The problem of central banks today is they control the money. So they go for your government and talking in a different way to the government that all the people are money launderers, that people like me using Bitcoin are fraudulent, that Bitcoin is not real money, and something on. And as you see as a conclusion, money is only something you believe in. You can change a glass of water and can say this is $10. And if you believe in this $10, this is a glass of water, then it is $10. And no one can stop you because you and your friends believe it as an exchange item. So who will stop you? After the Second World War, the Germans started to share cigarettes for whiskey and whiskey for goods. It took the Americanos 2 years to get this out of the mind of the people to use the dollar system and the so-called D-Mark system. So you see, an exchange of value and how we use money is only what we believing in a big crowd. So if a big crowd is using Bitcoin without caring about the old money system, we have a big problem because we do not know what they do with the money, right? But Bitcoin was an open ledger system. We can see what they do on the ledger. We can track it. So the main problem is if I go for Bitcoins with governments, the government has the same problem that we can track the government. So if the government is making a promise that they will spend a lot of money for the healthcare or for the society, we can see if it was moved from one A to B.
No escapes.
No escapes. And if there's only one Bitcoin not in there, we can point the finger also on the government and can say, hey, I paid my taxes, what do you do with this one Bitcoin? At the moment we can't. And people are frustrated about the situation. We're talking about technology and big data collection to control the people in the way, how they have to act, what they have to do, but no one is controlling our from us elected government, which should work for the people, not for themselves, what they do with the money. So I'll give you a good example of this how today in India. We have a teacher for our Satoshi school out there who was teaching in Bitcoin, and he was charged in a law case now that he was cheating people into Bitcoin. Have you ever asked yourself if you have cheated people in your money system which is based on nothing? So we have to go for ethical correctness. And ethical correctness means that the regulator point and the government point needs education in a way, how far can we go? Which is necessary to regulate, to keep the freedom inside. But if you have seen all the time, and if I think about the concerns you have before when it comes to internet, all the people was talking about internet and it's forbidden. We have seen closed down the internet in India and China times before, and now it's open. So it is always the lack of education and the necessary to understand what is the way, how to use, how to regulate. And it's always the same. Before we regulate something, we have to understand. But now we overact in a system which hasn't got any value out there. So for me, personally, and I know many people won't agree with me, the best thing the Indian government and the Chinese have done was closing down the ICOs. In a world where you talk about functionality of a blockchain, and there is no blockchain out there, and we're talking only about ideas, and you're selling your ideas without development for millions to other companies which are losing money, it is the right point to shut down the system. For example, in the time from 2016 to 2018, ICOs raised more than $100 billion. 98% of all companies struggled and not there even today. The last two ICOs companies, 2% of ICOs company out there, are not able to fulfill the necessary of companies to create use cases and adoption. Because they create systems on a system called ERC-23, 223, and it's only a system. This system, from the beginning on, was hackable. And that's why people don't adopt this technology, because in the moment you have this system in your company, I can hack you. In 5 minutes. I can prove it here. It's very easy to crack down Ethereum. So no one changed the system because they all don't know how. And if we only talk about things that could be and that would be, we are 5 up to 10 years far away from the use cases we will see for adoption. And the next thing is, if we have companies running on blockchain technology, and we go for large companies, I will say Nestle. Why should I give the right to Nestle having a secure system when they keep me up for my own water, telling me that water is no longer a right for the mass adoption? So why should I give them the right to access a system when they do criminal on human beings? So at the moment Nestle got the blockchain technology, you can be sure I'm the first one cracking it down. So this is ethical. The hacks you see today are ethical based. That's not about money, because the use people today or bitcoins, they are very rich. They are richer than their father, yeah, because they understand how to make arbitrage on the changes. So hacking today is a way to keep in mind that people have the right to access their own privacy data for a lifetime. And I'm the guy who's showing you my data, not you taking my data out, my idea, and do what you want. So as long as we can't track both sides of the story, we will see all the great hacks. And the regulated framework is the necessary to see both sides of the story, not only one side. As long as companies going only for regulators because they want to save their interest fees. That's the wrong thing. And as long as it's there, you need people like me, they don't belong on money. I'm from the beginning in Bitcoins, so you can maybe imagine how rich I am. If you want to change the world today, you have to do it from top down. So for me, it's easy to pay the best hacker in the world to crack down a system like Smart City in Dubai. But for me, it's all about ethics. It's about the way we want to live in a society which is going for the next step in evolution. And for me, it's also necessary that regulators and governments are able to understand this technology from A to Z. And that's why we teach them. And then they can find the right decision, because we have to see all sides of the story, not the plan one. And in this case, I apologize everyone in here to rethink about the way we want to make securities and governments and also laws in the future, respecting the privacy, also like the poor people, because the future depends on one ball. And if we kill our world only in money interests, and we doesn't keep care about the real interest to keep our environment up, the whole ball has a problem. And it doesn't matter if you're an Indian guy or German guy or someone. The problems in the world we have today are much larger than talking about some frameworks, talking about some blockchain technology and something like that. The moment you talk about real use cases to change the mistakes we have done worldwide, we are able to make a change. But if we always deny to make a change, we will fail. And that's what the dollar is showing you today. We were going and we raised a lot of capital and we have made a lot of things. But also you see today the plastic rubbish is killing our nature. So this is something we have to treat in the right way. But how can we do if our money system is not having the money to do this? And how can we do it if we only talk about money laundering, terrorism, and all about money is nothing else more to keep this safe, to keep the planet in a green way. So think about what I said, and I promise you, we will find a way. Our school is open for everyone. We teach governments, we teach humans, we teach everyone. And we are always not judging people what they have done in the past. We are looking for solutions for the future, which is based on knowledge, not on if what will be. So we are based on solutions which we can do today. And from this, what we create today, our future depends on the systems we use tomorrow. And think about, tomorrow is the future of our children. And if you don't care for the future of our children, you can remember what your grandfathers promised you and where you are now. Thank you for listening.